I did a poll yesterday asking which of these two video concepts would be more interesting to see which one I would finish up and release first, and the one about guns won. What a surprise. So without further ado, I'm Pliskin, and today we're going to be going over some of your favorite guns that actually suck balls.
What are you buying?
So first up, we're going to be talking about the Bizon. Now, I've been told in the past this is pronounced Bizon. However, cuando veo una palabra que obviamente no es en inglés, cuando veo el I, pienso en I, entonces digo I. So yeah, I'm going to call it the Bizon for that reason. But still, feel free to correct me down in the comments below. The Bizon seems like a really cool fucking gun, and it's shown up in a lot of games. Far Cry 4 had it as the end unlock SMG, as well as Far Cry 3. Call of Duty has it come up and be a P90 contender every now and then. I remember using the Bullfrog, I think it was called, in Warzone, and that thing shredded. For me though, the most iconic one would have to be in Resident Evil 7, where it acts as the endgame power weapon, where once you have this gun, the game turns more into action instead of horror, because now you have a really competent shredder. Here's the thing though, from its inception, the Bizon was a flawed concept. You see, it tries to jam 9x18 or 9x19mm into a cylindrical magazine. Now, there was a gun that tried to do this before the Bizon, and that was the Calico, which ended off disastrously. It'll be a common theme in this video that you'll see a lot of guns try to do things with ammunition not built for their said design. So the Bizon tries to take a round designed for a straight magazine and tries to put it into a cylindrical shape with an unusual feeding method. The rest of the gun takes off of the AK in a lot of ways and has nothing really wrong with it. I mean, there's plenty of 9mm AK derivatives out there that work fantastic. But the Bizon's issue again is with that magazine. 9mm is not meant to feed this way. A gun that actually succeeds in doing what the Bizon and Calico try to do is the FNP90, where it has a weird feeding mechanism in which the rounds rotate. However, they designed a round specifically to work with this system, whereas the Bizon and the Calico just took a design that already existed and tried to jam it into some new innovative thing they were trying. So yeah, if you were to try to use the Bizon in real life, odds are you'd probably make it through a quarter of your magazine before the gun jams up and you start having to switch magazines, hit your magazine around, or just put the gun down and pick up a regular AK.
What are you selling?
Next up, we're going to be talking about the Barrett M82. Well, kind of, but we're also going to be talking about pretty much every 50 BMG anti-material rifle. Now, I want you to listen to what I just said. Anti-material rifle. There's nowhere in there that says sniper. Now, the 50 BMG and the rifles that fire it were designed to be a man-portable way of taking out tanks, armored vehicles. Can work sometimes as anti-air. If you can hit a chopper with this thing, you'll bring it down. It's an anti-vehicular weapon. It's supposed to penetrate hard bunkers. It's not a sniper. It's not going to be the ultimate accuracy, damage, all this kind of stuff. If you try to use a 50 BMG like a sniper on human beings, yeah, you can manage some shots at fairly far ranges, more so than other rifles, but then there's going to be proper sniper rifles that exceed the distance, are much more comfortable to fire, are much more accurate, and will still do the job of taking out a human being. 50 BMG is, in every sense of the word, overkill. You really don't need this. And you might be saying, oh yeah, well, Pliskin, what if I want to use 50 BMG just because I like the power? You also need to realize that this gun will take a toll on you. Not only has there been multiple examples of these things blowing up in your face, leaving people disfigured with missing fingers, all that kind of stuff. Hell, there's even gun YouTubers who have had terrible accidents and have been hospitalized because their Barretts have blown up on them. But even if it doesn't, the concussive force of a 50 BMG round going off, especially if you're using something in semi-automatic with rapid fire like the Barrett M82, you're probably going to have concussions, brain damage, you might get fractures. Like, this isn't something that's meant to be a DMR or a sniper. You want a DMR that really hits hard, use something like the SVD. You want a proper sniper rifle, use something like the Barrett MRAD, which uses more sensible rounds for accuracy and taking out human targets. But yeah, 50 BMG, the Barrett, any 50 BMG you can think of really, is overkill in every sense of the word, and I can't stress this enough, isn't a sniper and would be very far from my first choice for a precision rifle.
What are you buying? Is that...
Now we're going to be talking about the first shotgun on the list, and that is the 1887. This lever action shotgun is iconic in film and in video games, whether it's the Terminator flipping it around, or whether it's John Marston getting this gun towards the end game of Red Dead Redemption 2 and using it to blow people away much better than any other shotgun in the game. Well, here's the thing, it doesn't work. To fully explain the issues with this thing, we gotta go back to lever actions themselves. They were designed at a point where we were still using black powder to power our firearms, and they worked well for that purpose. However, they were always prone to jamming because the actual act of pulling the lever, if you don't pull it with the exact force that you need to, you can get a failure to eject, all sorts of different issues. It's very easy for grime, dirt, dust, mud, whatever to get into the weapons. If they freeze over, forget it, that thing is a hazard waiting to happen. Lever action is, in every sense of the word, outdated, and it has been since the late 1800s. John Moses Browning, the guy who invented the Model 1887 shotgun, said, hey, we're using the modern 12 gauge round and this would work much better in a pump action design. However, Winchester, the company that was making this gun, were pretty well known for lever actions and didn't want to deviate from that positive stigma. They told him, just make this work as a lever action. So he tried his best, and there are some cool features to this. For example, you can fit in an extra round in there. You can put one in the chamber, you can fill up the magazine tube, and you can put an extra 12 gauge round in the space between the two and get an extra, 12 gauge when you're firing. The issues come in though when you're trying to reload this, it's very easy for the lever to move and bite at your fingers. It's incredibly, well, it's not even easy, it's just a guarantee that you're going to have failures to eject, because not only is the lever action system very difficult to operate reliably, but when you get something thick like a 12 gauge round, you're pretty much turning the manual of arms of this gun into a double barrel gun or a break action gun, because every time you engage that lever, you're going to have to manually pull out that shotgun shell yourself because it's not really going to eject. This system just doesn't work. It's up there with the L85 in terms of guns that were designed from the ground up and were just failures in every single way. This gun was used, you can still buy it, it's cool looking, but the reloads, the reliability, and the lever action design with a round that was never designed for it, this gun just doesn't work. Also, the Terminator's flip cock, he needed to have a specific 1887 custom design for him to do that. If you try to do that on a regular 1887, you're gonna break your fingers.
Is that not enough cash?
Alright, so whether you grew up playing Modern Warfare 2, Far Cry 3 or 4, or Metal Gear Solid 4, you'll notice that the M14 is depicted as the god gun. You need something to sneak around with, you use the M14. You need a sniper, you use the M14. You need an assault rifle, you use the M14. It does everything. In real life, it does none of these things. You can throw a suppressor on there, however, the 308 is not going to be quiet on any day in almost any condition, unless you're shooting it next to a fucking spaceship going off right next to you. As a sniper rifle or as a DMR, it kind of works. Putting an optic on this thing is really annoying since it still ejects from the top. Trying to run this gun in full auto is nearly impossible because it's just not designed for it, and the recoil impulse is significantly higher than the FAL or G3, which are both competing battle rifles, which are each much better in every regard. This gun is just... Okay, let me explain the story. The US military came out of World War II in Korea. They had to modernize, but instead of changing guns, they just wanted to have a Garand that was magazine fed. They took a design and applied it to something it was never meant for. And guess what? It just doesn't work. The EBR was an attempt to lower the weight and modernize it, and I mean, as a DMR, you could do a lot worse, but you could also do a lot better. Still, the main point is that this isn't the rugged, reliable, does everything in one package kind of gun. It's an incredibly niche tool that can be outclassed in that niche even still. So yeah, the M14 is not a god gun. It's a false idol. Now, there's no problem getting into guns because of video games. I mean, video games make them seem really cool, so it's only natural. But you need to understand that you will get a warped perception of certain guns. And the worst gun that is like super iconic because it looks cool is the Spaz 12. Now, this is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but the Spaz 12 is not a good shotgun. Yes, it features that really cool system where you can run it pump action or semi-auto, but you kind of have to run it pump action because it's very picky with ammo. If you're using 12 gauge ammo that isn't hot enough, it's going to jam up when you try to use it in semi-auto. So you might be thinking, okay, fine Pliskin, sure, it doesn't work in semi-auto. Let me just use it in pump action and it'll be cool. No. Half-Life, Far Cry, Call of Duty, and all those other games that feature the Spaz 12 as their shotgun are fucking lying to you. To reload the Spaz 12, it's not going to be as simple as this. You actually have to press 2 buttons on the sides of the loading gate to unlock it so you can feed in shells. So you need to turn the gun over, use one hand to hold this thing open, which takes a lot of effort, and then you need to force shells into the gun. This is an incredibly slow reload, and sometimes even if you're putting all your force into those 2 buttons, the shells won't go in. And what good is a weapon that can't reliably be reloaded? So maybe this isn't a functional failure like the 1887 or the Bizon, however, it's just not practical in any sense. Again, it looks cool. Oh yeah, by the way, in all the games that show you aiming through the actual folded stock on top of the gun, that doesn't work. If the stock is on top of the gun, you can't see the iron sight. So sorry, Black Ops, that's just not a thing. The heat shield and all this stuff, it looks cool, but it just doesn't work. You can't reload it reliably. So if you tried to use this in combat, like you could be there for minutes trying to get this thing reloaded. That's how difficult it is to open the loading gate. So because of that reason alone, I have to put the Spaz 12 at the top of the list because there are genuinely people out there who are like, oh my god, the Spaz 12 is the greatest shotgun ever. I got a comment on my other video being like, oh, why would you put a Benelli as the gun you should take with you? It should be a Spaz 12, they're already on the base. They just don't work practically. If you can't reload it reliably, it's garbage. Just a piece of advice when it comes to figuring out if guns are good or not, look around to see what people are actually using IRL. If you notice the Spaz 12 looks cool and shows up in a lot of video games, but you don't see it being used by people, you don't see it used in the military or by police officers, that's probably a telltale sign that this thing isn't that good. So yeah, these have been 5 guns, sort of. I mean, with the Barrett, we kind of talked about other guns and 50 BMG in general, but 5 guns that are super cool in video games but actually suck in real life. Did any of these surprise you, or did you already know all these? Are there other guns you could think of that are held up on a pedestal in the digital medium but suck ass in real life? Let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, this has been Pliskin Boy, over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.